Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7 Episode 6 Thoughts video. Just finished watching the latest episode of The Clone Wars on Disney Plus, and I'm just going to be sharing my general thoughts on the episode. In this episode, Ahsoka goes on a job with Trace and Rafa, who she met in the last episode, and she has some reservations about it and the morals and the ethics of it, and yeah, that's pretty much what this episode explores. This episode I kind of was a little surprised that we were still hanging out with Trace, that Ahsoka was still hanging out with Trace and Rafa. I thought I had gotten the impression last episode that their story was kind of done and that she was moving on maybe and was going to meet some more characters along that line, but we're still sticking with Trace and Rafa gets Trace to gets Trace to do a job because she needs a pilot and a ship, and it turns out they're doing some spice running, which is always one of these kind of ambiguous terms I feel used in Star Wars sometimes, because it's like, is spice a good thing or a bad thing? Because like in this one alone, they talk about how it can be used for medicine, but it seems to be more often used in a notorious way, in like a drug way, it seems. And so it's kind of interesting that ends up being the thing. And obviously Ahsoka has her own problems with this, because when you have criminal activities that involves criminals, like the Pikes and I forget who the first set of ones, the criminals that she met was. Oh, I guess we didn't know that when she met them. But anyways, the Spelunk and Kessel, which is where they go in this one to get the spice. So this one, had a lot of kind of interesting elements, doing a spice run. I like that Ahsoka's, trying to still hide the fact that she was a Jedi from people, that she was part of the Jedi Academy at least, and that's how she has all this kind of world knowledge. Particularly Rafa has this very kind of, there's clearly a tension between Rafa and Ahsoka, and she just keeps questioning Ahsoka, like, how do you know all this stuff? What do you know about the Pikes? What do you know about running spice? Why? And so it's kind of funny to see Ahsoka kind of like doing the Obi-Wan, from a certain perspective, kind of, walking around these kind of things. Like, I pay attention to the world and what's going on around me. It's like, well, that's a good point, Ahsoka. That's true. But yeah, so it was kind of interesting to see this episode's kind of exploring Ahsoka, trying to not overcome, but trying to, help her, these, two people she just met, of Trace, who she considers a friend, and kind of help them in what she sees be, morally, and kind of keep them out of trouble. She even says that's why she's there, is to kind of, and to keep Trace out of trouble. And so it was kind of interesting to kind of see that kind of balance of like Ahsoka trying to, pretty much, she's getting used to being like everyone kind of listening to her in a sense, even not like everyone, but in a sense like everyone gave her more respect when she was a Jedi, when she said things that no one was questioning why she knew these things. And so it was interesting to kind of see how she was kind of dealing with this sense of like, I can't just say I know because I was a Jedi, and so seeing her kind of dance around that, and then having her own problems with this situation of helping these two pretty much complete a spice run to the Pikes, who she knows are gangsters. So it was kind of just like a fun episode to kind of explore that side of Ahsoka's story, and it was just fun to get the kind of Star Wars elements, spice run, we go to Kessel, which is just like, spice run and Kessel, they just go together, which makes sense because that's where they get spice from, it seems. And so that was just fun. So the other fun aspects about this was, there's actually one big thing stuck out to me, which is when Trace dumped the spice, and I'm like, I had a visceral reaction, which I was like, oh, things don't always get like a natural response when I'm watching them. It's more upon this retalk that I have more of my reaction. But in watching, I was just like, oh god, that wasn't smart, girl. Why? You've clearly never seen a movie. This would be like, if you were a drug runner and you just, the one of the drug runners decided, okay, I'm sick of you two arguing, I'm just going to throw all of the product out, and yeah, it's all good. And it's like, well, no, we've got drug dealers to deal with now. We owe a bunch of drug dealers drugs, and you just got rid of the only leverage, the only thing we had to pay them with, which was the drugs they wanted. So it's like, oh, okay, Trace, how are you guys gonna get out of this one? Which, spoiler alert for the episode, they don't in the end. But I do like that Ahsoka tried to, instead of trying to run, she's like, yeah, no, we gotta try to deal with this head on. She tries to, again, Obi-Wan with it a little bit from a different Obi-Wan move, which is, use a Jedi mind trick on one of the Pikes, which it worked. but she probably should have done more than one of them. I don't know what the limit on that is. Can she wave her arm further and get more than one of the guys into it? It's hard to say. But yeah, it was just kind of a fun little thing to see that, like, it was fun to see, the two, Rafa and Ahsoka arguing, and Trace just being like, I don't want to lose my ship. I don't want to lose my ship. And it's like, the two of them be like, that was the worst thing you could have done, Trace. What? How do you think dumping the only thing worth of any value besides your ship is going to solve this problem? It was just such a funny. It was just kind of a funny moment. And then that ending the episode with them being captured by the Pikes is a great way to set up for, like, oh, what's going to happen next on this adventure. So yeah, I'm curious to get to next week to see how we're going to wrap up this Ahsoka one. I'm interested. I got to re-look up now. I think it is only 8 episodes potentially this season, is maybe 10. I definitely gotta look that up again, because there's so many TV shows and different numbers this episodes, it's hard to keep track. But yes, if it's only 8, that means this seems like it's going to be the finishing storyline. So I'm guessing there's more than 8 episodes this season. But that being said, I'm curious to see where this Ahsoka one goes. We did see another little thing I forgot to mention was we see when she's on the ship and the ship's leaving Coruscant at first, that they fly past a Republic starship, and on it we see Anakin, and we see he's sensing something, and maybe he sensed her and just kind of, it's like, okay, I shouldn't do anything. Or we saw a little moment between them, and so it was interesting. I was also interested to see, like, Ahsoka seems to be hiding or wanting to hide from the Republic, and so that was one thing I was like, wait, I don't think she was, like, she left of her own free will. She wasn't a criminal anymore. She was cleared of charges. So maybe it's just she didn't want them to, like, she didn't want potential, like, the Republic to potentially give up her kind of cover right now, and kind of give up the fact that she is a former Jedi, or a former Jedi Academy, or formerly a Jedi apprentice, and so that was just an interesting little thing, because I'm like, ooh, I hope we get another little bit more between Ahsoka and Anakin, but I guess that maybe we don't, besides just their interactions in Rebels. But that's a little off topic. But yes, that's all my thoughts on the latest episode of the Clone Wars. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought about the latest episode. Thanks again for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if you already, and have a good one.